When I was doing my independent research in aquaculture about intensive tilapia farming, it really opened my mind to really explore and learn a lot of things. My ignorance is my best teacher. For 7 years of putting 100% of my time studying the industry about aquaculture, it covered also marketing, production, product development, and how to be off the grid in search of renewable energy, self-sufficient in quality feeds production in the future of the industry. My intellectual property that concerns about this industry, trade secrets that I learned, gathered, my documentation in videos, aside from my journals and personal notes, some model system we tried and worked beyond our expectation and passed Rocky Friend's strict and meticulous standard to be used in this production. We were able to formulate some new solutions so valuable in the future to be used once I finally decided to venture in aquaculture or share it to the right people who believe in us for the advancement of the industry. God bless. Rocky Friends is the founder and president of Aqua Farming Tech, founded 1993. Rocky Friends, to whom I collaborated in research and development while doing a feasibility study in aquaculture for my own company, which I did an intensive study and educating myself as an independent researcher from 2001 to 2007. Rocky Friends, a visionary in aquaculture in the 21st century, decades of dedicated innovation and research to whom we have envisioned that someday the fruit of our labor will be recognized, not for monetary gain but as a contributors in the advancement of the aquaculture industry. Like Rocky Friends, we are willing to go out of the box, ideas that are crazy, and we are motivated by passion and seeking the truth. Year-round production of red tilapia fingerlings for local growers monthly, an average of 10 grams. The Desert Fisherman Hatchery, the only local company whose objective is production of quality fingerlings and continually do research and development for the benefits of the industry. We had the technology, knowledge, expertise, and competent people to produce year-round of quality fingerlings. The company's vision is to be a team player to achieve the ultimate goal of creating a feasible operating system for industrialized tilapia farming, which will be the world standard. Tilapia, the fish that can feed the world. The first feeding miracle of Jesus Christ is the miracle of the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish. The live tilapia market. Only local supplier, no outside of states or foreign competitors, short of supply to meet the demand of the market. The demand is weekly, year-round, not seasonal. The average weight is 1 pound. 1 tilapia, 1 person. Tilapia growers are concentrated here in Coachella Valley because of geothermal source of water. They can grow tilapia year-round, and for the past decade, they are supplying weekly the local market. However, the local growers do seasonal spawning ever since tilapia farming was introduced here in California. The spawning season starts in February or early spring and ends in August. Most of the tilapia growers followed the pioneers. There is a massive production of fingerlings during spawning season and stand some to be your surplus for the rest of the year. The grow-out tanks of the farmers are in full operation year-round. For a small farm, this cannot be that much to fill the loss of the profit. For tilapia farmers who expanded their operations are the ones suffering because of the high cost maintaining their operations year-round, high cost of feeds, electric bills, plus price of live tilapia is not stable for the past decade. All the growers are concentrating in their grow-out tanks and ready to spend money in getting the latest technology and equipments. Once you do seasonal spawning, there should be months where you should not have any sales at all. This is my recommendation. Monthly is the best approach to this kind of demand of the market. That is the monthly spawning. The outlet can only stock live tilapia good only for few days. Aquarium is where they stock their produce. Monthly spawning was never been done by the local growers because it requires a good technical know-how and skill. Monthly spawning needed a specialized controlled spawning ponds and hatchery. Synchronous tilapia spawning also needs a special knowledge and skill. That is why I formed the company, the Desert Fisherman Hatchery, the only local company to do the year-round spawning of quality tilapia fingerlings. All my projects are all on hold due to what the corporate pastors have done to us. But God will show us the way, the truth, the life. God is an overseeing God and God of order and justice. Have patience and don't lose hope. Faith in Him, Jesus, will be your strength in facing any trials and tribulations. Amen to that. Our experiences are what makes us who we are, can never be undone. I became a vessel to expose the cancer in the upper leadership of a Christian church and to seek justice for those who experience such abuse from MPD pastor that corporate churches ignored. The scar was so deep that only the victim can feel it. As Dr. Sam Bachman described, a narcissist reacts with a supreme rage to the slightest mistake. He will punish severely to what he perceives an offense against him, no matter how minor, and all of these abuses. The narcissistic rage is the response of a narcissist to anything they perceive as a threat to their ego. Their control of power is sometimes this is deadly, where all premeditated and the victims are kept in the dark. They are kept off balance. Needless to say that the dependents of the source of justice are manipulated for their advancement to secure the victim, the one at fault. What makes the MPD pastor so evil is that truly do not have empathy and no compassion. The narcissists don't treat the victim as a full-fledged human beings. He dehumanizes them. He objectifies them. By dehumanizing and objectifying people, it attacks the very foundation of human interaction or dignity of a human being. Abuse was so horrid, so repulsive, so phantasmagoric that people recoil in terror. They are horrified that when their defense are absolutely down, it is then they are susceptible and vulnerable to suffer to the maximum the abuses or narcissistic rage. The abuser control is at the maximum when the victim's psychological state is at its lowest. Many in charge would like to attribute the decline in attendance at Christian churches to the hedonism and frantic phase of the wider culture, but the truth may include the fact that in many congregations and denominations, the church is dying from within, from the preponderance of NPD leadership and those impotent in responding to this evil. For all the progress that has been made in the church in stepping up, aggressive awareness, education, decisive response in protecting children from the church top predators. But there has been no visible address to the comparably destructive evil of MPD leadership. The conventional wisdom on managing individuals with MPD is usually directed at victims who have become entangled with one in the course of their life, employment, or spiritual life. The wisdom is valid and good for those in such situation to get away and stay away from the narcissist, and then completely ignore them. What should you do when you meet a narcissist? Run? I think run is a good solution most of the time. But what about the times where you cannot run? What if the problem is your co-worker, a friend, or even your pastor? What do you do then? Okay, you have to fight back with a stronger ego. Educate yourself. Deeper knowledge is the way. Narcissists are shallow and go to the topic or something that they know nothing. This is an option can ultimately be an ego defense of your own. By running only shows you cannot handle the conflict. Fighting back is about protecting other people and things you care about, not your ego. Fighting to protect your ego is not going to help. Given that you can't help someone who needs help, I think the most important response is how does that sobering fact motivate you to act, given the limits of one's own capacity. Okay? Personality disorder have not been shown to be due to lack of particular chemical or organic process, but are largely under the direct control of the person who cooperates with it. Essentially, a person with narcissistic personality disorder is not mentally ill in classic sense because they are deciding to behave the way they do and in full control over it. This is why traditionally some mental health disorder will mitigate criminal actions, not guilty reason of insanity plea. But personality disorder are no defense, and make no mistake that the vast majority of interpersonal behaviors that NPD pastors are evil. Another person or individual for the NPD pastor are but objects or toys, an obstacle to everyone. What makes the NPD pastor so evil is that truly do not have empathy and no compassion. Ordination is an ideal place for NPD individual, especially those pastors that are licensed by this mega corporate church. They treat it as a job, not a calling. Okay? So this NPD individual that been licensed, okay, as they then have built-in adulation. Everyone respect a pastor, right? Okay, that is a perfect cloaking device. The job, the church, the congregation is perfect for NPD individual. A narcissistic place, that is the church property, and the pathological narcissistic supply. Now it's my duty to retain back our reputation and dignity, whatever is taken from us by this manipulative band of deceivers. We are independent church, and our founding pastor was Dr. Reverend Nene Ramientos. After a few months of pastorate at Eagle Rock, I formed a new congregation named Faith Bible Church of Los Angeles. It was 1985, At first, we met in homes. As our membership grew, we met in rented church halls. Our membership grew steadily as more people joined us, mostly as a result of our home Bible study groups. Later, my son, Pastor Joseph, took over the pastorate. A permanent building was established in Zambali, Los Angeles area. And that is the 12055 Wicks Street, Zambali, California. And that property is a 4 acres property originally is owned by a Baptist church. That is the reason to 2013 Dr. Ruel Tica became our guest because he thought that it's still a Baptist church. But we opened our door and let him share his testimonial, like our founding pastor, Dr. Rene Ramientos. Man, once you read his book about his life, his testimonial about how he became really a disciple, an ambassador, a minister of Jesus Christ in further the gospel and sharing it to the whole world. Okay? The property was paid off, and we just entrusted the title of the property. And now, the International Church of the Foursquare Gospel Incorporated, claiming they are the original and real owner, as stated to the summon served to me June 16, 2015. Okay? When a victim of narcissist abuse turns to the people for help, their claims are never fully understood, and most people fail to appreciate just how serious are the topics, such as financial abuse, really are, and just how much damage they cause. Having your money stripped away from you and having someone have control over your finances and what you are allowed to buy is not only degrading, but it also causes many further problems for the victim. The Foursquare Church dissolved our church, the Faith Bible Church of Los Angeles, California, aka Zambali Foursquare Church. And the new pastor church name is officially the only existing church to the property, especially when he put in their website and he announced their 4th church anniversary, and that is March 24, 2015. My golly, now we now know that when they came, they already have a plan to steal or our property. Oh my God. And because I am the property custodian, I am the first one that they really harass. My God, now the picture is now becoming clearer and clearer. I believe these are the worst type of manipulators. I say they are the worst because they will do anything in their power to get everyone to believe they were wrong. They never take any responsibility for any problems they may be involved in, and always look to blame someone else. They don't respect others but demand respect for themselves. When you point out their inconsistencies, they accuse you of being like everyone else. If they have ever felt unhappy with someone, they call and speak to everyone about it and do their best to smear campaign while the victim is kept in the dark. In my case, I was confined and isolated. And then in that small room that they called the unit number 1. Okay? And then what we're going to do right now is this one. A contingency is an if-then situation. If someone does a particular thing, then a certain consequences will follow. And the only way they learn anything is by experiencing the consequences of their actions and behavior by teaching them how the game of life is played. Okay? Since the district legal representative and also the district administrator and also the one that is taking care of the insurance of the 4 square and now is the assistant supervisor, okay, keep on asking, do I have evidence, any evidence? So I said, I will research and provide him what is ever needed. So this is the reason why it took us years, because they kept on ignoring every documents I submitted and personally even gave it to Jeff Nelson, the appointed pastor from the corporate. And I even used the social media, but to no avail. I was even erased from the Facebook. My first account, Efren Maulino Tadiaman, okay, was erased because when I addressed already it to the president and then tried to connect to the Facebook account of the 4 square, I don't know what happened. And what happened is that they removed my account, the Efren Maulino Tadiaman, but I said it's okay because the one that have a problem right now in Google is Efren Tadiaman, the one that have this eviction case against him. So now, when I mentioned to the district administrator, by not immediately correcting the problem, I was subjected to, due to that I have to endure narcissistic traits. So he even asked, do I have a medical proofs and certificate? So I said, I'm going to research it. Ambient abuse is the propagation of an atmosphere of fear, intimidation, instability, unpredictability, and irritation. There is no traceable or explicit abuse. There is no wound or marks of the body, something that can be used as an evidence in the court of law. There is no manipulated control. There is nothing there, yet the air of the feelings remains and the bad omen. An ill atmosphere in the long term, such sick environment erode the victim self-worth of self-esteem. Self-confidence is shaken so badly that renders himself even more to the criticism and judgment by the society or congregation. Thus reverse, the victim is considered mentally deranged and the abuser, the suffering victim. Okay? This is what my Blano, Silito Cometa, have posted when he answered, he made a comment. And this is what he had written. My most painful wounds came from and inflicted by men from the church. If it happens to you, blessed are you, for Christ is teaching you through humility, for nothing could offend you more than those we are supposed to and commanded to love. Then this is my reply. Brother Blano Silito Cometa, like Jesus, when suffering at the cross and being mocked by the Jews said, Father, why have you forsaken me? How painful the people you are saving are the one humiliating you. After serving the church for 7 years while helping them because the church is dying within, okay, these sociopaths, okay, when they took over the property, they isolated me in the small room for almost a year in the fellowship hall. Only 1 or 2 checked if I was still alive. Some gave foods in secret, and that is Don Jose, and they were even stopped not to feed me. Okay, they even what? The food that was kept by Don Jose in the refrigerator, they even trust it. What a Christian character. Okay. And those sociopaths tried to break me physically and emotionally. But my faith is so strong. Now, these sociopaths are accountable to their action. I was so busy preparing all the documents for the labor case, and I was not eating properly, and I got no money when they isolated me. So I was left all alone, and I lost a lot of weight, and I look so haggard. And this is the wrongdoing of this sociopath, and they got even scared because they think I might lose my mind and do something stupid. See how stupid these sociopaths are? By isolating me for almost a year, trying to break me down. They got me even scared when they saw me. I lose a lot of weight and my hair is so long. Anyway, that's the way it is, man. So now, and then how stupid the sociopaths, after isolating me in the video room, they realize I got an access to the most important tools I need in preparing a case against them. And that's my computer with an internet access. Again, they fabricated a case and partly humiliated me in the court of law. But God is good, it backfired, and the judge threw the case. However, those sociopaths even announced at the pulpit they won the case. What a character. And they even branded me that I have a Satanás spirit. Now we will see who have that Satanás spirit, me or them. Personal journal, and writing everything regarding my research in aquaculture and renewable energy. And took me years to do it, and I almost lost it when they towed my Nissan Sentra. The second security even accepted it, that my old car, they towed it. 2002, I'm doing already the study about the Salton Sea species of tilapia, because this is the only tilapia that can correct all the hybriding that we have now, because the one here in Salton Sea is a pure species, never been contaminated since the 1960. And for broodstock development, this is what we call, this is a holy grail. Man, this Salton Sea species is really a different species of tilapia. The most important commodities in the future. We should do some actions in research and development and innovation for the future of our children's children. From 2001 to 2007, I did my independent research and development and innovation in aquaculture from 2003 to 2007. I transferred to Aqua Farming Tech Incorporated to test my broodstock red and golden orange tilapia with the approval of Rocky Friends to test it. In this farm, he is also the founder and CEO. When I was in Aqua Farming Tech, I collaborated with Rocky Friends in research and development and innovation in intensive culture system in aquaculture. Most of it are out-of-the-box ideas, and the experimentation we have done was recorded in videos and in my personal journals. Rocky Friends and me, Efren Tadiaman, had done some innovations never been tried in aquaculture. Rocky and me is the same age. We are born in 1957. We are the baby boomer. Aqua Farming Tech is the definitive leader in the industry. State-of-the-art aquaculture operations are conducted from the two farms encompassing 120 acres. Always an industry innovator. Aqua Farming Tech is the first farm with more than 60 tanks. One of the first farms to build above the ground cement tanks, and the first farm to utilize a mechanical aerator to improve the oxygenation of the water, the first farm to develop and implement method of recycling water, and the first farm to generate significant percentage of its power from solar, and the first farm to self-manufacture its own feed, and the only farm endorsed and accredited by the state of California to do and accept training and education of people about intensive culture system in aquaculture.
In a world with increasingly limited land for growing food, we invest in agricultural enterprises that produce the highest possible yield per acre. We also leverage that strength by using the most efficient energy resources on the planet. It's no secret that some of the smartest investors in the world are betting on the development of highly efficient methods of growing food in smaller spaces. People like George Soros, Warren Buffett, and Bill Gates have seen the numbers and added farmland to their portfolios. Here's what they know. The world's population is projected to be 40% higher by 2050 than it is today. That's not far down the road, and yet our farmland is shrinking every year. An estimated worldwide equivalent of 40% of California's agricultural land is lost every 18 months, which will result in a dramatic increase in the cost of food. But there's hope and opportunity. There are methods of farming that can address these frightening numbers and help feed a hungry planet while generating profits for forward-thinking investors. In short, a chance to do well by doing good. In this respect, New Global Energy Business Unit, Aqua Farming Tech, has been at the forefront of developing and implementing the most advanced sustainable methods of producing premium seafood since 1993. Its operations are located just east of Palm Springs in the heart of the Coachella Valley in California. When Aqua Farming Tech started, global aquaculture accounted for less than 10% of seafood consumption. Now it's about 40%. The United States imports about 86% of its seafood, only half of which is wild caught. In fact, what looks like a brilliant idea now had its critics 20 years ago, as our aqua farming manager, industry legend Rocky French explains.
When we started, everybody was thinking that we were crazy because we're trying to build fish farm in the desert. It turned out this is the very best place to start fish farming.
But as ideal as the Coachella Valley is for growing tilapia, this type of farming also has its pitfalls. In California and elsewhere, other fish farms have shut down as a result of 3 persistent issues. We're fortunate that Rocky and the rest of our technical team have met these challenges.
High density type of fish farming, you're faced with like 3 major problems. Electricity, feed, and water. In our case, we're able to mitigate our problem by putting a solar array. We save about, we save about 80 to 90% of our electric bill already. The second issue was water use. And of course, in the farm, we're doing recirculation. We pump the water, it goes into our reservoir, gets cleaned up by the water vegetation. Well, one of the major costs of fish production is feed. We figured that if we could build our own feed mill, design our own feed, and have better control on what type of ingredients that we could put in the feed, this would be a major contribution to the production of good quality, sustainable type of fish.
In addition to producing our own feed, Aqua Farming Tech has developed a proprietary fish feeding methodology that is projected to save up to 70% of the overall feed cost. The program involves feeding our fish green algae for the first 4 months in the grow-out ponds. In their natural environment, tilapia, which are vegetarian, feed on nutrient-rich algae and other aquatic plants. This sustainable technique dramatically lowers the feed cost, and the oxygen-producing action of the algae reduces electricity costs by diminishing the need to run mechanical paddle wheels to aerate the water during the day when the electricity rates are at their highest. By successfully solving critical cost issues that confront fish farming in this area, we lead the industry in tilapia farming, and we are in a position to acquire or lease other California fish farms as they have closed. Because Aqua Farming Tech has perfected high-density aqua farming, our yields are much higher per acre than traditional fish farming. Most farms yield about 1,200 to 1,500 fish per acre, while we average 30 to 35,000 fish per acre.
I created this video 2003 and now it's 2020, so this is 17 years ago. This is what I know about tilapia already.
Nandito po tayo ngayon sa compound ng Aqua Farm Tech dito sa Avenue 81, Termer, California. Dito ho nag-start ang Aqua Farm Tech. Ito ay 10 years ago na inumpisahan ho ng ating CEO na si Rocky Friends. Makikita niyo ho dito yung ating mga circular tanks. Ito ho yung mga 90-footer na circular tanks. Ito ang ating bread and butter. Makikita niyo ho ang aeration na ginagamit namin dito ay mga paddy wheel. Yan ho ay 5 horsepower. Kung isang yun nasa kabila ay 2 horsepower. Bali 7 horsepower ho ang ginagamit namin ng mga paddy wheel dito. Ang stocking density ho namin dito sa mga 90-footer nito at 100-footer ng mga tangke around 40 to 50,000 pounds na live fish. So 40 to 50,000 hong mga 1 pounder ng mga tilapia ang laman ng mga tangking ito. Yung bahay na yan, ang bahay ho ni Big Mama at ni Dr. Hirado. Yan ho ang mag-asawang yan ang sumuporta dito ho sa ating CEO, si Rocky Friends, nung tinatayo niya itong aqua farming na ito sa Avenue 81. Itong mga circular tank na ito, si Rocky Friends din ho ang nag-introduce dito sa Southern California upang gamitin sa pagtitilapia. Very efficient ho itong mga circular tank na ito, especially kung very high ho ang yung stocking density. Yung ating mga competitors na nagtitilapia, bali si Rocky Friends din ho ang mga gumawa ng kanilang mga circular tank. Ito yung ating holding tank. Dito natin inilalagay yung ating mga produce na ready for market na tilapia. Ayan ho, makikita nyo yung ating aeration na uplift pump na isa, ayan ho. At saka yung sa likod, yung mga paddy wheel ho. Intensive din ho ang ating aeration system dito dahil unang-una, nandito na ho yung mga tilapiang ready for market, yung mga live tilapia. Bali ho, ang market natin dito sa Amerika ng tilapia are live market. Hindi ho frozen market ang ating market. Mga buhay hong tilapia ang ating binebenta. At yung makikita, kami ho ang supplier na dito sa Southern California and Northern California. Bali ho ang produce natin ng mga live tilapia ay nakakarating ho sa San Diego, Los Angeles, Sacramento, San Jose hanggang San Francisco po. Doon nyo makikita yung ating mga produkto. Kung kayo ho ay pumupunta sa mga store at makikita nyo sa aquarium yung mga tilapia o kaya sa restaurant, may makikita kayong tilapia na nakalagay sa aquarium, yun ho ay ating mga produce. Bali, we're the only one who can really supply the live market ho. Local ho ang supply ng live market. So, binibenta ho natin kung ating produce na tilapia not less than $2 a pound dahil ho, very expensive ho ang pagtitilapia dito sa Amerika. Ayan ho, makikita nyo yung ating mga feed bin, lalaki ho, bali 5 tons ho ang mga laman yan. Yan ho ang sikreto ng ating tilapia, kaya masarap ho ang ating tilapia, yung waste management at saka ang pinapakain ho natin dyan, yung mga feeds. Hindi ho algae ang kinakain mostly ng ating tilapia, kaya ho walang offbeat na lasa yung ating mga tilapia, masarap po. Ito ho yung aming mga 60-footer na mga tangke. Ito ho namin inilalagay yung mga fingerlings na galing sa 30-footer. Ayan ho, yan ho yung mga 60-footer natin. Ito ho, piniprepare ho namin ito. 60-footer na ito na tangke. Diyan ho namin ilalagay yung fingerlings na galing dito sa mga 30-footer. Yan ho yung ating mga 30-footer na mga tangke. Bali, ang ginagamit na aeration ho namin dito is air pump. Makikita nyo ho, itong mga 30-footer na ito na mga tangke. Meron ho mga takip na mga net at chicken wire to prevent the birds in eating our fingerlings, especially mga pelicans ho, napakarami ho dito. At saka ho yung mga night bird, pag pipiestahan ho itong ating fingerlings, kung hindi ho natin tatakpan ito ng net at mga chicken wire. Ayan ho, makikita nyo yung ating mga fingerlings. Medyo malabo lang ho, hindi natin maanino ng maigi. Diyan ho namin inilalagay yung aming from hatchery, fry. Doon ho namin hina-hatch yung mga iklog sa hatchery. And then, after that, we put it here sa 30-footer ho. Bali ho, ang aming produce, number 1 right now is tilapia. Pero ang ako farming tech from 40 acres na farm na tilapia ay diversified na po sa produkto dahil meron na ho tayong catfish farm located ho ito sa 66, Avenue 66. Ito ho ay 80 acres na catfish farm. So ang produce ho natin from tilapia, catfish at ngayon ho, we will try to raise shrimp dito ho sa Southern California. Magiging pioneer na naman po yung ating si Rocky Friends sa pag-raise ng shrimp for live market dito sa Southern California. Yung mga oval tank yan, yung mga naunang mga tangking ginawa ho ng ating CEO nung sila ho ay nag-uumpisa dito sa Avenue 81. Yan ho. At ito hong mga circular tank na ito rin ho, yung mga naunang circular tank na itinayo niya dito sa Avenue 81, ito ho ay mga 60-footer. Nung sila ay nag-uumpisa nila, Big Mama at Dr. Hilado. Yan ho, makikita nyo ho sa gitna yung holding tank. Diyan ho nila nilalagay yung kanilang hinarvest dito sa 60-footer ready for market noon ho sila nag-uumpisa. Kanina pa ho natin pinag-uusapan ng tilapia. Ang tilapia ho sa mga Asian, hindi ho bago ito. Bali, introduce ho sa atin ito ng mga 1950s ho, itong tilapia. At Mozambique ang species ho na introduce ho sa atin. Ang late 50s ho na dinala ito sa Asia. Bali, ang tilapia ho belongs to the cichlid family ho. Ayan ho, makikita nyo yung relatives ng tilapia. Ayan ho. Kamukha ho ng tilapia yan. Ayan, another cichlid na isda that belongs to the cichlid family na where tilapia belongs. Mga isda mga mouth brooder ho ito. Bali ho sila pagka ho, ayan ho, makikita at dun very protective ho itong mother tilapia, kaya ho sila mabilis dumami. Ayan ho yung isang klase ng tilapia dun sa Africa. Nakikita nyo ho. Bali ang tilapia ho, upon maturity, mga 5 to 6 months, nagbe-breed na po yan at nilalagay nila sa bunganga nila yung mga iklog. Actually, yung mga Egyptians ho, ang mga unang nag-breed ng tilapia. Bali ho si Cleopatra, ang kinain ho niya tilapia. Pati ho si Julius Caesar, si Mark Antony, nakakain ho ng tilapia. Dahil ho ang tilapia, ito ay native ng Africa at Middle East.
Energy on the show with us today. Perry, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great. All right, Perry, yeah, I was looking at your company. When it comes to food, you guys have got it covered. This is, I can't wait to get into the moringa, but first, let me back up a little bit, and please give us the depth and the background of the management style that you bring to the table.
My background is primarily technology development in small public companies over the last 30 years, essentially, and we've brought that and those ideas to New Global Energy, which is basically a renewable and sustainable agriculture and aquaculture company driven by technology, and so that's been our focus, and we're trying to drive the company to focus on the acquisition of and operation of high growth assets in this industry.
Well, you certainly have the portfolio taken care of. But let's get into you for a second here, because you're an attorney, you're a practicing attorney, and you have had some milestones, some success in your history. Bring some of that out before we get into New Global Energy. Their bio, what they're into, and we've got plenty of time to walk through the different parts of the portfolio that you bring up.
Well, I've had some experience in a number of areas, technology related and natural resource related. I was CEO of Cambridge Energy, which was small public E&P company with oil and gas production in Louisiana and Texas and internationally in Indonesia. I've been the CEO of Interactive Technologies, which was an interactive digital media company. That was a NASDAQ company that was listed on NASDAQ. Early on, a business partner and I started an American Financial Network, which became the largest computerized loan origination network in the country, and one of the first. Even in the days before public access to the internet, we operated our own network, and it became a significantly large company. I think we did well over $2 billion in business. We went from an idea to listing on NASDAQ early on, and I more recently been involved with the development of concentrated solar power technology through a company called Nanogen, which concentrated in developing a solar system not related or not using PV panels, but using concentrated solar in the small to medium size marketplace. And I've brought some of that to New Global, which we expect to apply as we go along in the different acquisition of different properties. But those are some of the areas of background that may be of some interest and certainly relate to what we're doing here.
Well, I can tell that you're a very modest person, but those are definitely some real strong attributes that you bring to the table: is continued success and being ahead of the curve. I wanted to bring that out for just a moment, but what led you to get into, because those are different fields, maybe the oil and gas is a natural resource, but now you're talking about farmland, aquaculture, shrimp, and then also this moringa plant or tree. I guess it's actually a tree. Let's get into that, because you're in an industry sector, as far as I'm concerned, because I'm a natural resource person from way back, and you're getting into an industry sector that there is always a demand for, and it seems to me you're a little ahead of the curve on this. Let's bring New Global Energy's bio out a little bit about what the company does, and then if we can, we'll walk through and drill down into some of the different parts of your portfolio here.
Well, as I indicated, we're basically an aquaculture and agriculture company,
right.
Focused on areas that we believe are sustainable and renewable, an attribute which is really an essential to the future marketplace. I think if you look at the farmland as an asset base, for instance. I'm not sure how you could hit all the bases better for an investment or a desired asset than farmland. First of all, you have growing demand. The population is expected to grow 40% by the year 2050. Significant growth in demand. You have decreasing availability of farmland. Every year, worldwide, we lose an amount of farmland equal to about 40% of all the farmland in California. Every year we lose that. And those two things related add to ever-increasing value, and the record shows it. I mean, every year since World War II, the U.S. has had, except for 4 years, has had a steady increase in the value of farmland. And focusing on that, it's just not doesn't make sense not to become involved and lay out a business plan which focuses on farmland as part of your asset base.
Let me drill down into the farmland for a minute before we switch over to agriculture. On the farmland, are there any specific crops or types of farming that you think are going to be more valuable in the future than most people would know right now?
Well, obviously by the areas that we focused in, we believe that aquaculture, which we'll talk about in a second, is an area, and some of the things we'll talk about, you'll see why it actually becomes obvious why that's a focus. We're trying to focus on crops that are make the most efficient use of farmland and crops which we can make a difference in applying technology where we can reduce costs through the application of things like solar energy and feeding technology and those types of things.
So in essence, what you're doing is you're through your farming, you're lowering the energy costs, you're protecting the environment, you're creating.
One of the most important resource of any congregation or a church, first are the members, and then secondly is their property, the property of the congregation. And the property of the Faith Bible congregation here in Sun Valley that they paid off, okay, is a 4 acres property. And the back is a 2 acres vacant lot. That is where we started to plant moringa year 2012 as part of our financial income that we can get, because and then do some research and study also about moringa, what it can do in science and in medicine. And mind you, when they came, the corporation, they uprooted everything, man. Even the moringa we planted. So we lost a lot of money already. Now it's the year 2020. And now here is the evidence. Okay? That moringa, man, is money. Okay. Because I planted moringa 2003 in the 2 acres in Mecca. That is the part of the aqua farming tech. And now, now you see how much money can moringa, the income. Now this is now the evidence. And then this is the charts, how it looks when they took over 2015. And then I don't know now what is the condition of the charts after 5 years. And this is a good, as a researcher, this is a good comparison. Because when you do research, it will take you about 2 to 5 years. And now let us see.
In the Ten Commandments, Commandments 6, 7, 8, and 9 are the ones that prohibit acts of evil: murder, adultery, stealing, and perjury. And then there is one commandment that prohibits the thing that leads to murder, adultery, stealing, and perjury. Which one is it? It's the last of the 10. Do not covet anything that belongs to others, not their spouse, their house, their servants, their animals, or any of their property. In order to understand this commandment and its unique significance, the first thing to understand is that this is the only one of the 10 Commandments that legislates thought. All the other commandments legislate behavior. In fact, of the 613 laws in the 5 books of Moses, virtually none prohibit thought. Why then does the 10 Commandments include a law that prohibits a thought? Because it is coveting that so often leads to evil. Or, to put it another way, coveting is what leads to violating the preceding 4 commandments, the ones against murder, adultery, stealing, and perjury. Think about it. Why do people do those things? In most instances, it's because they covet something that belongs to another person. Obviously, that is the reason people steal. Thieves covet their victim's property. But it is also the reason for many murders, and coveting is obviously the reason for adultery, wanting the spouse of another person. As for perjury, or bearing false witness in the language of the 10 Commandments, that is done in order to cover up all these other crimes that are caused by coveting. But in order to understand why coveting is the one thought that is prohibited in the 10 Commandments, and one of the only thoughts prohibited in the entire Hebrew Bible, we need to understand what coveting means, and equally important, what it doesn't mean. To covet is much more than to want. The Hebrew verb lahmod means to want to the point of seeking to take away and own something that belongs to another person. Note that there are two operative elements here: seeking to own and belongs to another person. Seeking to own does not mean just envying, or in the case of your neighbor's spouse, just lusting after. Neither envy nor lust is prohibited in the Ten Commandments. Uncontrolled envy and lust can surely lead to bad things, and they can both be psychologically and emotionally destructive. But neither one is prohibited in the Ten Commandments. Why? Because neither is the same as coveting. It is coveting that almost inevitably leads to stealing, to adultery, and sometimes even to murder. Let me explain this in another way. The 10th commandment does not prohibit you from saying, "Wow, what a great house or car or spouse my neighbor has. I wish I had such a house or car or spouse." That may end up being destructive, but it may also end up being constructive. How? It may spur you to work harder and improve your life so that you can obtain a house or car or spouse like your neighbors. It is when you want and seek to gain possession of the specific house, car, or spouse that belongs to another that evil ensues, and that is what the 10th commandment prohibits. Therefore, one of these 10 commandments, these 10 basic rules of life, must be that we simply cannot allow ourselves to covet what belongs to our neighbor. Whatever belongs to another person must be regarded as sacrosanct. We cannot seek to own anything that belongs to another, because only evil can come of it. A good case can be made that the 8th commandment, do not steal, is the one commandment that encompasses all the others. How does do not steal encompass the other commandments? Well, murder is the stealing of another person's life. Adultery is the stealing of another person's spouse. Coveting is the desire to steal what belongs to another person. Giving false testimony is stealing justice, and so on. This commandment is unique in another way. It is the only commandment that is completely open-ended.
In any research or scientific endeavor is predicated on the belief that empiricism is the best or at least the most dependable route to knowledge. When we say a research or science is empirical, we mean it is based on observation. And the most precious and priceless is the time spent by the researcher gathering information with a very observative and keen eye to see any significant events or changes, analyzing and keeping records. His observation is systematic and objective as possible, and supported by factual truth coming from the expert and authorities.